Hope at Crafty Hope again, and I am here with the fourth installment of my basic jewelry making series. So, the first three sections I covered the basic tools and materials and findings that you need to kind of get started in making jewelry. This section I kind of want to just go over some of the different beads and things like that you can use in there so that you have a general idea of what some of those terms are. So, again, I am a self-taught jewelry designer. Everything I've learned has been through online or magazines or whatever. I've got my own terms for things at times because, that's how it works best for me in my head. But I'm going to give you what I know, and that way you can get started on this. So what we're going to discuss today is beads in general. So what a bead is some kind of material with a hole that goes from one side to the other so that it can be strung onto something. So this is a big old plastic bead, but beads can come in just about any kind of material: plastic, glass, stone, metal, a variety of things, wood, shell, I could go on and on and on. So that's generally what a bead is. Now I'm going to show you some different types of beads. The first one is something we've all seen since we were kids. These are tiny little beads, generally referred to as seed beads. Now, I don't personally use a whole lot of seed beads in my jewelry making because they're tiny. Seed beads are often used in things like bead weaving, loom embroidery, things like that. And I don't use, it's very small, detailed stitching type stuff with a needle and all of that. I will throw in some seed beads every now and then into something, but it's not my thing. I have tons of them though, because back when I started, that's about all you could find were seed beads. Now, seed beads come in a variety of sizes. These are general kind of seed beads. Those who do bead weaving and bead embroidery and loom work can probably go over some of what the sizes are, because I know there's I don't even want to say it, what the sizes are. But for me, there's general seed beads, and then these larger ones, which I call E-beads. And they're a bit larger than those other seed beads. But they, as far as I'm concerned, they are another type of seed bead. So, that's general seed beads. Then you have some of your larger beads. Now, they can come in a variety of shapes. In general, you've got a round one, which is just a ball, This one, which is like a ball but then smooshed, is called a rondelle or a roundel. And it's one of my favorite shapes. They tend to be faceted, but not always. But you can also find cubes. So that's straight up a cube. There are different tubes that go from here to here. This is a bicone, if you can see it. It's like two cones that are smushed together, so it's a bicone. And this is what's called a briolette. And it's kind of teardrop shaped. Sometimes they're different shapes, but in general, they're going to be a teardrop shape. And the hole is going to go, let me see if I can find a needle. The hole is going to go through it like this, so it hangs like that instead of going top to bottom. So these tend to need a wire wrapping or some kind of bail or something to hang, rather than a general seed bead. General bead. My goodness, where are my words today? So these are just a small sampling of some different shapes that beads come in. There are many, many more. I could go over a ton of them, but I have found that different suppliers of beads call their shapes different things. So me going over what I call them isn't really going to help you when you go searching for it. So I encourage you to go on to different bead sites and just kind of look and explore, and you'll see that there's many different shapes that you can find. Now, some of the other different types of beads that you can use in your beadwork are spacers. Now, they tend to be just a flattened bead with a hole in the middle. Some of my favorites are rhinestone spacers like these, but what you'll see most often are little ones like this. They're often called daisy spacers. But then you've got a general disc spacer and other. That kind of looks like a jack to me, doesn't it? Anyway, so those are spacers. They tend to go between beads to separate them and give a little definition. So that's why, since they're between it, it puts a space between them. So it's a spacer. Also, you've got bead caps, and these are just a couple that I have. They're kind of large, but bead caps tend to cap off a bead, like such. Ah, of course I'm dropping it. They cap a bead like that. So they're rounded like a cup, and they go on beads just to add a little bit of decoration. In addition to those, you've got a couple more things. Now, there are charms and focals and cabs. Now, those all can kind of be the same thing in general. Charms just tend to have some kind of loop on it and hang. Now, these are all different kinds of charms. They've got loops on them, and they can hang off a bracelet, off a necklace, whatever. And they can be a focal. Now, when I say focal, I mean it's a focal image, or focal image, a focal, I can't think of how I'm going to say it. It's what you're going to look at when you have a necklace. It's what hangs from it, and it's the focal to it. So these are some different types of focals. They, again, can come in different types of materials and shapes and sizes. Focals tend to be a larger piece on your necklace or bracelet or anything, and they draw your eye. Lastly, there are cabs or cabochons. I think I'm saying that right. And they have flat backs. Now, cabs aren't something I use often. When I do, I glue them onto something. Now, they can be glued or using seed beads beaded around to secure them in place. They can be wire wrapped into place. But in general, a cab is a flat back element that you can use in your jewelry making. That's about all you need to know about beads. They, again, the materials for beads and charms and cabs and all of that range wildly. You know, some of this stuff is polymer clay, some of it's resin, some of it's metal, some of it's glass, some of it's stone and resin. I don't know, just tons and tons of materials. Use what you like. Use what you can afford. Don't, you know, go buy the most expensive thing out there if you can't afford it. When you're learning, get what you like and what you feel comfortable purchasing. So, that's all I've got for beads right now. My next video is going to be on some other supplies that you can use in your jewelry making. So, stay tuned. We'll get to that soon. Thanks. Bye.